President and CEO of Inspired Title Group.
And my name is Amy, the executive assistant of Inspired. It is. There's a lot of words coming out of my mouth at one time.
We'd like to welcome you all here for our Thursday morning edition of Title Talk. We are coming to you live from our office in Palos Heights, Illinois, where this is the home of Inspired Title Group, your title company for the ages, if you will. How does that sound, huh?
It's good. And hopefully a makeover in here one day.
Yeah,
We kind of just inhabited this back area over the last, couple months, and...
There's been conversations about that, yes.
Hot
yes.
pink, maybe?
This is not working for me, and I'm tired of playing with it. So I will do our intro and chat a little bit while you get the wonderful things of social media going. So again, welcome, and it's great to have you guys here on a weekly basis. We have been doing a great job of talking about things maybe a little bit different other than title. We've been discussing a little bit more about the depths of learning about the company, learning about how it started, learning about each other, so we can kind of become
it's been different.
And people have been saying that, and that's really what we've been finding and utilizing has been an asset to what we're doing. So today we decided to kind of do it along that same line. We're going to introduce some title in here together. We've got a fun little layout here and outline for us to kind of follow through. So I'm going to start off with a fun fact for the day. Yay.
Is it about the election?
I said fun. I said fun. We're going to keep it fun. Okay?
Fun and light.
Yes, fun and light. So do you have any idea when title insurance started, or maybe who or how or any of that?
Was in the 1800s.
Yeah, it was. Very good. Very good. You guys will all recognize the founder of title insurance. It's somebody that is very famous, very well known.
Abraham Lincoln.
Not bad.
Okay.
I mean, close era.
Jefferson?
No, we're going to go with Ben Franklin. 1868. Benjamin Franklin.
At least I got the 18.
Yeah, you were in the ballpark. Yeah. Ben Franklin was the individual who created title insurance, and back in 1868, I believe, was when that all started. So, what you and I do today, what they call title examiners and searchers and things like that.
Yeah.
Back in the 1800s, they were called conveyancers because, again, they controlled the conveyances of properties. Right? So they were called conveyancers back then, and a conveyancer.
You should bring it back.
Isn't it cool? I mean, it's kind of a cool name.
It is. It makes your job seem really, really important, which it is, but...
It is. Oh, it is. I mean, and a conveyancer was somebody who would do literally everything. They were authorities on real estate. They weren't attorneys, but they were just so well versed in this, and they did everything through the process. I mean, they did the search, they did the exam, they would literally tell the buyers all about the property.
Like, could you imagine what a property record looked like back in, like, I've seen a couple from like the 1950s, and like when I try to look at what those look like, I'm like, how did anything make sense back then? So
very different.
It's weird to think about what that would have looked like, 160 years ago.
It's something that what took place was, as you just alluded to, public records were so not well done, not well documented.
As opposed to now, where
they're so much better.
So perfect.
So much better, Amy, no doubt. They did literally have, what these conveyancers would have to do would be search these properties, try to dig through and find out what was working, what wasn't working, and then ultimately what happens is the buyers would take on a lot more risk because because like these records were very
what's a mortgage like what, well, it was a deed and trust or a trust deed back in the day, but like how are they recorded, how are they
the information was very inadequate. So there was so much risk on a buyer against a title claim to the right of their property, so much,
and a lender,
right? If there were lenders
back then, who knows?
Mortgages, we'd have to
get a book. I need to get a.
We love history, so that was why I stemmed to this.
I'm gonna make a little note to look into that.
There might be a fun fact for you to bring up to to next week is
where
all this stuff originated from.
I like this.
Yeah. So, as I said, the buyers would bear all the risk. So the fun fact continuing is the first title company was started in Philadelphia in 1878 because of all this. There was a lot of issues that took place and some court cases that took place to really intervene to discovering that rights of property were important, and boundary lines, and what we talk about today on a survey. All of that stuff was important. I mean, you think about 100 years ago, 200 years ago.
Like, what is a survey back then?
Yeah. What does your lot line look like? What does your place look like?
When did like condos, townhouses? When did they start to become a thing? Or is that putting you on the spot? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I know the exact answer of when the official first condo started, because
my brain went to HOAs and all that stuff that happens now, and I was just
right. I mean, that's the history teacher in you, like the creation and development of what is the title industry today.
I need a book.
Yeah, I think it's something to bring up. So, 1876, Law of Property Assurance and Trust was the first title company.
Say that one more time.
Philadelphia. Law of Property Assurance and Title. I'm sorry. Law of Property Assurance and Trust was the first title company.
Interesting.
Yeah, pretty great information.
I like that.
Yeah. So that's our fun fact for the day.
That was fun.
Yeah, it's just we'll talk about some history and we'll talk about some other things. So going on to, let's talk about maybe a title company story. We'll have a story of the day. Do you have a story of the day that you can maybe talk about for the listeners?
So when I first started working here, it'll be 5 years in January.
Okay, that is correct. I know that.
So I initially just thought I was doing these title things.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, we started to get these requests for track searches, they're called. So what that means is someone's not necessarily ready to buy or sell a house, but they need some information on a property they're thinking about doing something with.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to give a ton of details because I don't know the legality of that, but so it was in Bridgeview. This was a huge, by Haunted Trails. This is where.
Oh yeah. Okay.
This is where this was.
Haunted Trails is the miniature golf mecca on the south side.
Everybody knows.
Everybody.
If you're ever in Chicago, go miniature golfing.
Right.
Haunted Trails.
They have go-karts there too.
So when I initially got this request for, they were that little strip mall around there. They were trying to figure out who owned what because they were trying to do some development over there.
Mm-hmm.
So when I read where this was, I was like, oh my god, this is my backyard. This is down the street from my dad's work. This is. This is what this is what I know.
Right.
So I think there was between 9 and 10 parcels that we needed to get legal descriptions for. And when commercial properties are either, because a lot of times the Village of Bridgeview will sell them off to people.
Yep.
But when you look back on these deeds from, way back when, the legal description is 9 pages long of just
insane. Yeah, it's just insane.
And it's by feet, it's by degrees, it's by minutes and seconds.
Do you know what that means? When it's in a description of that way.
Well, it was how they first.
Right. But it's not lot and block, so it's meets and bounds.
Meets and bounds.
Right.
Okay, sorry. Is that what you're getting at? Yeah. So, so I printed out. Do you remember that thing?
The puzzle. Holy cow!
I tried looking for it for 2 minutes. I'll find it in the next week and bring it back to show you guys. But I printed out and pieced together 12 sheets of paper.
It was,
and I had hanging on a file cabinet for 3 weeks while I did.
It was extraordinary.
This.
It was extraordinary.
It was, and the reason I did it is because I'm a see to do kind of person.
Right.
If I'm looking at something this big and I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing, it doesn't work. But when I'm able to highlight a square, okay, this is parcel 1, parcel 2, parcel 3. So one thing that I do in this job that I didn't think that I would do in this job is these track searches.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I don't know if I can say this, hopefully they're not listening or watching. Sometimes you see those names that pop up and they're like, hey, do you have any update on this? Or hey, do you remember when you did that project 3 years ago? I'm like, oh no. My face gets red thinking about pulling out that giant puzzle again, or looking for another one I'm working on right now is a little parcel of land behind a parcel that it was never really conveyed anywhere.
Yeah, looking to find ownership of it.
Yeah. So I think that's the cool, like one of the cool parts of this job that I didn't initially know I was getting into.
Yeah.
Like playing detective,
right. It's
putting together
again,
a puzzle.
I go back and say it again. It's that history piece that you love, but it's really doing
my
some.
face is red thinking about that Bridgeview one.
You're kind of doing some sleuthing of who owns a parcel, a piece of property, and you drive by. You know, and you just take for granted everything that's around you, but then you go, gee, I wonder who owns that as you drive by. And
or like when I was in the city, I was like, hey, I'm doing that search right now. Like, hey, that's a project coming up in the future. So it's able to connect all parts of your life, which I think is a really cool thing.
That's kind of fun. That is very fun.
Yeah, I think that's mine.
My story is a little bit more in depth regarding kind of a story that involved a situation that I personally took place in. It's a weird story, but and I wrote it all out because I didn't want to miss any of the details. But so I bought and I fixed up a condo, and I put it on the market, and I got a great offer after a couple showings. I accepted the offer, subject to the buyer getting financing. And then I figured, all right, well, I'm just going to sit back and wait for closing.
So a timeout, like subject to a buyer getting financing, means that like the contract is in place pending a lender coming through for the buyer. Just so in case anybody didn't know what
that's good. So the closing date was all set, and I get ready to move as the condo has to be, vacant on the closing, so I'm getting it all cleaned up and everything. Lawyer calls a few days beforehand to say that the title insurance company is not going to insure the title because there's an issue. Great, right? We're like a couple days before closing. I mean, literally a couple days before closing. So I bought the property. Now this is where it gets really kind of weird.
Yeah.
Right? I bought the property from a woman. Okay. Her husband had just died. She was the only individual that was there. Okay. So she was pretty sickly herself. Her daughter died in a car crash, and then this lady herself died from an illness.
The lady really, that you were talking to?
Yes, it's really a sad story. I mean, it really evolved. So, again, it's one of those things you look into it and you're going, I should have never have touched this thing. There's a lot of moving parts, right? So only the son is 18 years old, is left.
Oh my God.
He's got to sort out all of this. Oh. Okay? The aunt is the executor of the will, which is the sister of the sickly lady who I bought it from. Okay? Now,
are you following?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we might hear a chart.
Right?
And go to the big board.
Get the whiteboard.
Exactly. So thankfully, being in the business, I'm going, this is weird, right? So the lawyer that was handling this, the lawyer that was handling the three estates was either grossly incompetent or just kind of a little shady. I mean, it was one of those sort of situations. Mm-hmm. He advised them to create a trust, pull out all the money and all the assets and put it into the trust. Okay? Well, that sounded like good legal advice, but then he proceeds to file all the paperwork at the court and put my property into a trust. He does this a year after the property had transferred into my name.
You can't do that.
Right. I purchased a property. I took it over clean and clear and everything. A year later, he put that property into the trust. So he personally knew that the property had been sold and it was no longer owned by the family.
So then you went to sell it and the buyer's attorney said, we are not doing that because it's theoretically in a trust.
Right. So no one was actually claiming that they owned my property, right? No one was trying to take it from me. So I was losing it. The title company is just looking at it like you would do a search and go, hey Drew, we got a problem with this, right?
Yeah.
So it's not clean anymore. So I needed to get the son, the only remaining heir, right?
Oh my gosh.
And his aunt, the executor, to sign a quitclaim deed over to me. Okay?
And that's all that kid wants to do at this point in life, right?
Right, and find it, right? Oh. And of course the lawyer who set up this trust, he's not going to help me. He's not going to give me any phone numbers.
Oh my God.
He's not going to admit to being crooked because this is just going to call him out, right? So that being said, the closing is booked. My buyers now got their financings all in place. The bank was expiring. He'd gotten, a large cash gift, right? A deposit for helping him buy the house. So that's got to season for a little bit, right? But he's not going to be able to requalify for this thing if it falls apart. I mean, this thing is just evolving. So, and then the offer is going to expire, right? So,
oh my gosh.
I had also, signed a lease for getting all the stuff out of this place and putting it into another space. Yeah. And this thing was starting here, and I was like, all right, I have to move quickly. This has to get done. So I became an instant private investigator. I called, the neighbors, people around there that might have known him. I went out to the social media sites to try to find this guy. I signed up for memberships on those background screening sites to see if I can find this guy. I pretty much hunted these people down. I went to their house. I had them sign the quitclaim deed so I can go ahead and sell this property to that buyer. I mean, it was the most stressful closing I've done ever. I mean, I feel terrible. I feel terrible for that family.
God,
what
a freaking mess.
But there are attorneys out there that are like that. Now, again, what is the key point to that story, Amy? It was done after I bought the property.
So how? I
would never have known.
Right.
I only knew when I went to go sell it that the attorney filed and put this trust of record. Going, you gotta be kidding me.
That's a joke.
Right? These are the things that happen in the title world, folks. That these are the stories that can happen.
This is like that one Indiana one with the trust and the guy in jail and the
right. People. It's just you just sit back and you chuckle. It can never happen.
When you tell these stories and you tell these stories to people, they're probably like, you're full of crap.
Right.
There's no way this is your everyday.
I can show you the file. It's pretty scary.
Wow.
No, it's pretty scary. So that is the story part of our day.
Let's just do that the rest of the day.
Amy's was something of kind of talking about what she does in the business. Mine was kind of a horror story of this is what could happen and reasoning for title insurance and why your friends here at Inspired Title really encourage and recommend, and we're here. It's a protection, folks.
I'm still
you're in awe.
I am.
I see your mouth is like a...
I'm still trying to process all of that.
Right. An attorney working for the estate goes ahead and moves this forward. That's incredible, right? So this is a nice good lead in for us now.
To nothing. To go to sleep.
Yeah. So this is what we like to call our question and answer part.
Yeah.
Right? So we get to do some
Q&A.
question and answer part of, some title insurance and things. So I think Amy and I are going to volley back and forth on doing some Q&A. If there's things that you guys want to know, it's a good time for you guys to jump in as well and shoot them. So what do you think? You want to go first? You want me to go first? What do you got?
You
ask, I'll answer.
Okay.
All right.
So what is title insurance?
Oh, yes.
Just a summary, not not the ins and outs of every word on every policy.
Yeah, we couldn't possibly cover it all in a short bit here, but it's a type of insurance, right? And it would make you fall asleep. It's a type of insurance that protects an owner for to verify that they have the ownership right to a property. It simply is it protects the asset of that ownership of that property. It's not protecting the house, it's not protecting the contents, it's not protecting any of those things. It's just protecting the rightful ownership of that property. And there's two types of title insurance, being the owners and the lenders. The owner obviously protects the buyer. Okay, well, I'll stop.
That's mine.
That's yours, I'm sorry. I will
Unless I can go into it now.
No, that's okay. So it protects you from things, the title insurance protects you from unpaid taxes, unsatisfied liens, things that could impact your title in a negative way.
And people, we talked about insurance a couple months ago, how title insurance is different from car insurance or house insurance. It's one of those weird things that I like to bring up every time we kind of talk about title insurance, that this is not, look at, I'm insuring this cup. It's you're insuring interest, right?
No,
so it's just something to kind of keep in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
All right, one more for you.
Okay.
When does title insurance protection begin and end? Never and never. Always and forever.
It goes on forever and ever and ever. So the coverage ends based upon the effective date of the policy. And it covers everything from that date behind you. So let's just use today, right? Today is the 4th of November. What is it? 5th of November?
Yeah.
So today is November 5th. if the effective date
After election day.
of today was November 5th, everything from November 5th to the beginning of time, it covers.
So like when we do policies, when we run searches and stuff, the effective date will always show up on your policy.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is we'll check the recorders to make sure up until that point in time, nothing happened from the closing date to the issuance of the policy date that would affect your title.
Right. So it begins at the beginning of time, and it ends at the effective date issued on the policy.
Right, so anything up until that date your mortgage was recorded or your deed was recorded,
Right.
you're safe from.
Right, absolutely. So now a question for you is, what is the difference between owner's policy and lender's or loan policy, lender's title insurance?
I made a chart, so I'm not being rude and not
No,
looking
that's
at you guys,
good.
but
That's good.
So the owner's policy protects the borrower or the buyer, depending on a cash or lender transaction, and a loan policy protects the lender or the bank or the person lending money for a house. When I was thinking about this, do individuals that give out a loan for somebody to buy a house ever require a loan policy?
That's up to them, but yeah.
But
for
it
sure,
can happen,
for
right?
sure. Because
When I
it's
was
protecting
thinking-
their interest
Right.
on that anything, I mean, their value of that loan policy is the amount of the money lent.
So, and sometimes you have, parents that'll lend their kids money
Right.
to buy a house or something. So,
Right.
when I was thinking through this, I was like, is that possible? And
Of course. Yeah, a lot of people do that.
all right, I'm going to go back to my list. Sorry, that was just
No,
a
it's okay. That's
sideline.
good.
All right, so for the owner's policy, it protects against losses from ownership problems that arose before you bought the property, but were not known at the time you bought the property. So that's kind of what you were talking about.
Right.
With the,
Right.
whatever happens before that, the owner's policy will protect you against anything
Yeah.
up until that date that you buy the house.
And that's ultimately what you do day in and day out. is
Every day.
research the records, the history of a particular parcel to determining the effectiveness of that property, make sure it's not leaned or encumbered.
Right.
And I think that's important.
And it's kind of hard now. A lot of recordings or effective dates are about a month behind now, a little
Yes.
over a month behind
For
because of
climate,
COVID,
right? Mhm.
because of COVID and everything. So when we're doing these searches, it's like, so I'm sending out a title for October or for November 5th, but the effective date is September 30th.
Right.
So that's one of those things where lenders always want within 60 days of closing. So hopefully it doesn't get too far behind.
What Amy speaks of there is, because today's November 5th, the fact that she issues a policy today, the records, the court records, so I'm going to break this down just a little bit simpler.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's
talked
okay.
about it
No, that's
sometimes.
fine. The date of a deed. If I signed a deed with Amy today, that's the date the transfer happened. Okay. So as of
November 5th.
November 5th, the transfer of what I own goes to Amy on November 5th. The date that it gets made public knowledge is that recording date. Okay. That's the effective date that we utilize. That's what we talk about when we talk about effective dates. But the date that I signed that deed,
That's when the house
it's
is
over.
mine.
Yeah. So people get tied up in that, saying, well, that transaction never got recorded, it never happened. Au contraire, it did happen.
Right.
It absolutely happened. And to the point where that transfer is legal and legit. It's just the recordings to make it public knowledge.
Right.
That's all that is. So not
But
to
it did
confuse that.
happen.
Right. So the fact that our counties are behind because of COVID, understandably so, the effective dates are lagging in time just because of that. So obviously that's not going to be possible what I
For
just
sure.
stated today. I mean, you can't have a November 5th date of transfer and then a September recording date. That would never
No.
be. That
If it did, something's going
Yeah,
on.
there's some-
we need to talk
there's
to your
something
attorney
there.
of the condo.
Right. But no, go ahead, carry
Yeah.
on.
And so another little fun fact about lender's title insurance. So when you go to sell your property, when someone buys it, the lender wants to know they're in the first lien position.
Absolutely, they have to be.
So we can't. I mean, we can. I don't want to say we can't ever. Can't ever. Sorry. So what that means is when you sell your house, you have to pay off the outstanding mortgage so that we can issue a policy for the lender to show that they are in first lien position. And what that means is that if a foreclosure were to happen, heaven forbid, the bank would be the first in position to get paid back from that.
Correct.
So that's the difference kind of between the owners and the...
The lender's insurance policy is mandatory. It's not a decision.
No.
The lender is going to say, I'm lending you $100,000, and guess what? I want to be insured that you're going to pay that back. This is not a anything to do with the paying of the mortgage and anything that is. They want to be protected that in case anything happens to that property, they have a policy in place that affects them. The owner's policy is the one that is, for reason of conversation, people say, well, do I need it or don't I need it? That one is you can have a conversation about that.
Right.
I don't know why you wouldn't have it, but
lenders
the
always
lender's
want it.
mandatory.
Couple more things. Owner's policies are paid for by the seller. Loan policies are paid for the buyer or the borrower. Owners policies, they usually happen on any purchase with or without financing.
Right.
Usually, and what we were talking about, where it's not mandatory, but it's
Correct.
99.9% of the time. Loan policies are only required when there's a mortgage or during a refinance. So if it's a cash transaction, because there's no lender, there would be no loan policy. And then just the last one we kind of already touched on, the owner's policy covers what your home is worth, and the loan policy covers the amount owed to the lender on the mortgage.
Right. Now, that's a good, nice point there. That what if your house appreciates? What does that mean? Within the policy, there's a 10% increase that's kind of allowable within the policy jacket that speaks to that. But if your house increases in value a lot, that is something worthwhile to maybe adjust and talk about insuring your property for a little bit more of a value, because the loss could certainly exceed the amount of that policy. Absolutely. No, that's good. Good stuff. Good stuff.
All right. What's the difference between title insurance and homeowners insurance? We also
common question and a common concern. A lot of people will associate the two as very similar, and in essence, they're very different. The homeowner's policy, which is required when you get a loan and such, right? And highly recommended. I don't know why you would not have it, because if your house burns down, you're really in some trouble. However, in that same note, if your house burns down, homeowner's insurance is what's going to cover that. Your title insurance does not. Okay, homeowner's insurance covers you from the day you get into that house and every day thereafter until you either cancel that policy or move. Title insurance covers everything from the day you are the effective day of that policy and prior, making sure that there are no encroachments, there's no liens, there's no issues that are encumbering that property, tax liens. Are there risks? As with every policy there are. The title insurance risks are such as, as much as the examining that we do and research that we do, there are things that could happen. I mean, you can have a deed that is fraudulent in the fact that it was forged.
Right.
You wouldn't know by just searching title that that's a forged deed.
No.
If it came back and popped up and said, we have reason to believe that this is a forgery on this deed, that's why you have title insurance.
Right.
That conveyance never really happened.
Right.
You don't own that property. So that's a purpose for what that is. I mean, so whereas the title insurance covers the land and the homeowner's insurance covers the home and the contents thereabout. So that is the big difference between the two. So just kind of volleying back over the net to you, let's talk a little bit about the title insurance company and who gets to choose it as far as when the processes are taking place, because we are licensed in 2 states, being Illinois and Indiana. So
Correct.
There's a difference between title insurance law in both states. You want to kind of chat about that?
So in Illinois, since the seller is the one paying for the title insurance, he or she has the right to choose a title company. And what that pretty much means is, because it's my fee, it's my pay, I'm choosing where I want to do this from. We've been seeing a little bit more something called bifurcating deals in Illinois, which is...
It's a big word.
It's a huge word, and it pretty much means we're going to use 2 different title companies. One that's going to be for the owner, or one that's going to be for the buyer, and one that's going to be for the seller. And I think part of the reason this started is that hopefully some attorneys thought that with using the word bifurcating, The seller's attorney would be like, you know what, just take it and be done with it.
For sure.
So what that means is there would be 2 titles run, there would be 1 closing done, but 2 policies from 2 different title companies.
Yeah, well said. It's a mess.
It is such a pain for the couple we've done.
It's a mess.
It is not fun because like
the financials.
It's the financials. Like when it comes to like an agency closing fee, like we're not really closing it, so we don't get paid for it, but we have to pay you for it because it's like there is so many what ifs, or it can go this way or that way, or
it's something that has become a little bit more popular. It's a little bit more talked about, a little more discussed. The actual act of it is still not high, you know, because it's a threat. It's truly used as a leveraging point. There are a lot of attorneys that like to, thump their chests and mention that this is what they're going to do.
And we appreciate that for, the ones that are trying to get
I'm not,
deals to us.
By no means is that meant
no, but
that is truly a statement that they are trying to persuade that buyer or seller in a certain way to get maybe some other things for the sale of that house or for the purchase of that house.
Closing credits, like there's you don't know what's happening behind
so
the scenes.
many things that are leveraged.
But that is just such a weird one.
Right.
And so in Indiana, the person purchasing the title insurance decides which company to use. So it's usually the buyer.
Yeah, and that's where that gets kind of muddied up too, right?
It is. I do know in some cases the realtor will put as part of the purchase agreement that closing will happen at so-and-so title company, which I've been seeing a little bit, like a handful more of the time. So, a seller in Indiana will say, we'll give you $2,000 towards this closing if we close an Inspired title.
Right.
Which we appreciate that as well.
Right.
If a buyer or a seller has a strong opinion about a title company, a lot of times, if it's not in a purchase agreement, I think people just kind of go with the flow.
They do.
In that case. So I think it's more of a set in stone kind of thing in Illinois because we're an attorney agent state. So sellers' attorneys usually get to make that call, whereas Indiana, it's more of a let's just get this deal done somewhere kind of idea.
Yeah, and I think that's the discussion in Indiana where the parties typically are, a lot of things are split. Where in Illinois, the only thing that's really split is when it becomes a cash deal.
Right.
I mean, the closing fee is
that's a good point,
split, I should say. But in Indiana,
the closing fee is always.
Yeah, I mean, the whole conversation can be split. I mean, it depends what the purchase agreement says and how it's written up front. So for us, it's important to pay attention to the front side of that. So that's pretty awesome. That's good stuff. That was our question and answer segment.
That was fun.
That was fun.
And I didn't make a jack butt out of myself.
No, you didn't. You did very well. And that's the part that we try to make to our listeners and viewers is that the title industry, there's so many facets about it. There's so many things that are happening.
Yeah.
And we just brushed on just a few of them. And these are probably the more common questions that we get, right? Yeah. So now I think we're going to move into some different fun things, maybe talk a little bit more about ourselves and the company and who we are and what we do type stuff. So why don't you give them your social media minute?
A social media minute.
A day, giving them kind of a little bit of updates as to all of that fun too.
So if you guys didn't know, social media is a big thing in this day and age.
Shocking.
So as social media grows, we're trying to grow our social media following with that. So we're kind of ramping up our Instagram. We have an Inspired Development and an Inspired Title Instagram.
We do.
Facebook, YouTube.
Right.
I think those are the main ones. Twitter is a little questionable. We're not really, but every day we'll post something new. We do Facebook Live on Inspired Developments that are super fun. It's going to be really awesome to follow that coming up soon because there's huge projects and huge updates happening on our other projects. So please, if you want, there's some fun stuff we post on there. There's some informative stuff. There's just some dumb stuff. There's Drew hopping in closets sometimes. That was fun. We get some. It's just a way to follow what we're doing every day. It's really cool to have these updates with you once a week, but if you want a little bit more of what we're doing on the day-to-day, check out, like I said, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. If you just search Inspired Title or Inspired Development on any of those 3 pages, you will find us.
And our website, which is the www.inspired-title.com.
And then the development one is www.idg-team.com.
Some some certainly exciting things that we're talking about bringing out here, which I hope that we can maybe talk about a little bit next week, introducing some tools that we can, bring to our professionals to assist them and help them, right?
Within by the end of the year, for sure, you guys will have.
Yeah, way before that.
Yes, but for sure by the end of by 2021, we're gonna have.
We have a LinkedIn account as well.
We do have a LinkedIn. Right? If
I certainly bring some of these YouTubes, and I bring the links for the YouTube into there as well. I mean, I know they're longer videos, and I know they're hard to watch, but I mean, what we've been doing here is segmenting it so that you can fast forward or go to the points of things that we talked about.
A little snippet at a time.
Right, and I think what we're going to do is maybe break some of that stuff up as well, and we're trying to assemble these, and we're going to put together some podcasts, and hopefully we can get those things.
It's actually really cool to listen to while you're driving.
Yeah,
I'm usually like a listen to music all the time kind of person, but since like all this election stuff, I've found myself like listening to news more. So definitely, turn this on while you're driving home or.
Yeah, and that's a nice, wonderful lead again with everything that's going on in the media about the election and the world today. It
hold on.
It really does.
Fasten your seatbelt.
Yeah, it really brings us to kind of humbling ourselves to being excited and proud of what we do and how we help and who we help. We talked about it the last couple of weeks, and it is very inspiring, moving. We just impacted a bunch of people this week with the amount of closings that we did, and the excitement that these people had, and the stress that the team went through. But I mean, if you noticed the stress that the team went through, you saw the positiveness of each of them. I mean, they knew that when they were leaving for that closing, or when the folks were coming into the office for that closing, that the end result was great,
yep.
Right?
Yep.
Right. What's your take on that? So, have you seen any of that positivity as well?
Yeah. Everything. I also wanted to mention that for the month of November and the month of December, we're going to try to do a give back. If you don't know, I am a huge dog person. So we're trying to figure out a way to give a little bit of our proceeds that we make on closings to give to an animal shelter around here.
Yes.
And we're also thinking about in December doing a give back to a family.
Yes.
That we don't know the details yet, but it's something that when we were driving around on these. We were going to look at our projects last Friday, and we were just spitballing and brainstorming, and that's where a lot of our best ideas come from, just, spewing ideas off each other. And we know we are lucky, we know we are fortunate, and I don't say that lightly, I really do mean that, and we want to be able to help out some more people and some more places out there. So, and when you think of Inspired, it's Inspired Title, it's not just a title company, I think that's my favorite thing about working here, it's not just. Other title companies are great, I'm sure, but we go beyond that, which is why I think that it's such a big part of who I am and what I do and why I love doing what I do, because Dru really looks into what can we do for other people. We know, like I said, with COVID, a lot of people weren't as fortunate as us in our business. So what can we do to help out those people that aren't as fortunate as us?
Yeah, I think next week we'll announce the November shelter that we're going to be giving to. Maybe even have a special guest as well.
Stay tuned.
And I know that excites the heck out of you, but I think it's something that we are really. There's
a clue.
I think we will have a definite going month to month give back. I think it's something that it inspires me to do something in that positive effort, to take a few dollars from each closing that we do, and that we would encourage you guys to continue utilizing Inspired Title and knowing that a part of those proceeds are going into a good place, a charity, a contribution of people or organizations that are less. And as we come into the holidays, it's really sad that we're faced with the things that we're faced with, and to really be impactful, I think it's important that we do our little bit, and it's just a little bit, and if more people could do this, God bless, and we would really be thankful and blessed and excited for anything that you guys would be contributing to helping that way as well. So
I feel like a lot of what either Title does and development does is helping our area. Like, obviously we're not big enough to make global changes or country changes, but that's what we always say about development. We're bringing houses, we're bringing places back one house at a time. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
it's local. It's local love. It's local growth. It's local, like, helping out and doing what we can around here.
As we kind of wind this thing down here, we got a couple more things, and one of them is my quote of the day, and then we'll hear Amy's quote of the day. But my quote of the day, it's something that I truly model, and it's truly something that I try to inspire others to model and be. I've learned that people will forget what you've said. They absolutely will forget what you did, but they'll never, ever forget how you made them feel. And I really carry that. I mean, think about, just let that marinate for a couple minutes. You talk to people and they're not going to remember what you said. They're probably not going to remember what you did. But I can tell you that if you ask them again, that person made me feel this way, or I was really comfortable around that person. It impacted them in a positive way. So this is what I try to lead, and this is what I try to model for my team here, is impacting people. So the give backs of these charity events that Amy talked about a few minutes ago is near and dear, and yeah. What do you got?
Mine's a little bit different. Mine isn't, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain.
Yeah.
So
it's one of Carol's favorites.
Is it?
Yeah. Carol we have a window, literally an old window at home it's in an old frame, and on the glass it says that it's learning to dance in the rain. And I walk past that every morning as I go to work and come down the stairs, and it's as hard as things are and as bad as life looks like to you. Look around, man. Just take a minute. Look around. No matter what's happening with this election and all.
Election, with COVID.
We're going to be fine.
Yeah.
You know what? We lived through 4 years. We'll live through another 4 years.
We lived through 9/11. Like, there's just so many things that have tested us as a country, as a group, as a people.
Be one one with each other. Like, care about the people that are around you. Man, just it's silly. I have some company highlights that I would like to chat with, and maybe even ask you a question or two about some things that maybe our listeners don't know or would like to know. As we've talked, that Inspire title being the positive and inspirational group of people that we are, what is your most favorite part of ITG and what we stand for?
Rewind 30 seconds. I mean, and I don't mean that, but it's like, it's one of those things that I kind of talked about talking about, and I didn't realize it was going to come when it did. It's just, it's not a title. It is a title company. We are, but it's not a title company. It's a family. I call it my work family. Right. It's when we do something great, we grow as a team. When we do something crappy, we grow as a team. When we, are faced with hard things, we grow as a team. It's just, like I said, it's my work family. It's not waking up and coming to work and doing a closing or running a title. It's what can we do to make somebody's life better.
And I think that's, if you watch back to any of the title talks that we've done over the last several months, that's a mantra that I continue to speak is, how are you going to impact somebody today? What are you going to do today that makes a positive impact in somebody's lives? And Amy just summarized that in her own words. And that wasn't, we didn't rehearse that. This is something that she spoke those words because it's what I lead and how I carry myself in this place. And I think if you asked anybody on our team, I think you would find a very similar answer in their own words. And that's a great answer. What if people walk past you on the street, or if you were in a setting around the holidays with your family and friends, when they would ask you about what your work life is, or what is important about ITG, or what do you like about it?
ITG, it's so anytime I hear someone say I'm thinking about buying a house, I'm thinking about selling a house, I think like something is happening, like without even thinking, it just spews out of my mouth, like, what can I do to help you?
Right.
There's never a moment in my ITG work life where I don't want to offer our services for people.
Right.
I trust what we do here. I trust the team we have here. We want to help people. We want to do what's best for people.
Right.
And it's funny because when I first told my grandma I was doing title insurance, she's like,
what is that?
so what? So like, you know, now when she comes over for dinner, I'm like, Graham, look at this video. You gotta watch this. This is what I do. And like, she just said it opened up a different part of, like, it opened her eyes to a part of me she didn't even know existed, which is cool because it's a constant growth. It's a constant learn.
And that makes me feel great as a owner, leader, and inspiring individual to watch the growth of a team member, to watch my team evolve and do great things and carry out the vision of what we try to do as a company and make an impact in somebody's lives. And even though, like you said, we're not the big folks, we're, you know, but it's a snowball. You push that snowball down the hill, and by the time it gets to the bottom, it's a much bigger, much bigger piece. Hold on. Right? And that's always been my theory is, you know, it doesn't have to be in any big grand schedule or scheme. It really can be in a smaller setting to make an impact. I mean, you know, the spin-off from Inspired Title was Inspired Development. I mean, literally, this whole process was my love and passion for building, and it coincides with, I mean, the look on people's faces. We're doing 3 or 4 projects right now, and they're you know, they're taxing. There's bumps and bruises that we're taking going through.
But it's worth it for the neighbors saying, this house has been vacant for 3 years, and I've been hoping that somebody would come and do something. Like to make these relationships with these neighbors, with these people, like people poking their heads out of the front door, like
that looks beautiful.
Yeah,
you know, it brings a community together.
It does.
And
it really does.
I get all rustled up and frustrated and angry with, you know, the team and our employees and our staff, but at the end of the day, when I'm closing the day, I sit back and say, yeah, I wouldn't give it up for a minute, because I know the end result is the
positive impact
that it's going to have on that individual who buys that house. All that hard work, all that effort, all of
the
that
frustration,
energy,
all of the everything.
And I'll do it every day for the end result. Every day.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up. It's been quite some time. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Sorry, we kind of.
We can do this inspiration, motivation, positivity all day long, and I think the world needs a lot more of it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I think we're going to continue to feed this and speak this. So I'm going to wrap up with some things, some takeaways that I'd like for you guys to maybe just think about it. I mean, marinate obviously on my little quote of the day and Amy's quote of the day. I think that, you know, you can replay that, and we're going to have this thing put on YouTube, and we're going to have those quotes popped up, and this way you can see it a little bit more. But I kind of speak this a little bit more often with some of the other things that I kind of do in my day-to-day life is I don't look at today as just another day. I really look at it as a new opportunity, and it's a new beginning, and I really try to embrace it. So it's really great, you know, today is the first day of the rest of your life, and you can make it that way. So the other thing, which it's out there everywhere, and it just caught my attention, and I figured I'd throw it out there with, again, the climate of what's going on with the election and all the stress that this is causing, is take the letters in the word hope, the HOPE, okay? Hold on, pain ends. It really, really is cleansing. Hold on, this will end. Okay, hold on, the pain ends. So carry some hope with you. Embrace the newness of each day. Make it what you want it to be. Don't let others influence it. You have a choice. Aim?
I can't top that. I'm just gonna let that marinate.
That's great.
I'm gonna use that one.
We really, really appreciate you guys each and every week. We look forward to next week, and we'll have some more great announcements. I mean, starting with the organization that we're going to be donating to. We've got some surprise guests. We will be telling you some more great, inspiring things, hopefully. we're here for you guys to reach out to us, contact us. Feel free to like us and share us and do all those great things that keep this word spreading. And let's do this thing together. So until next week, I am Drew with Inspired Title.
And I'm Amy with Inspired Title.
Take care, everybody. Have a great week.
Have a great rest of the week, guys.